Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day to meet with us. My name is Janelle Davis, and I'm the Client Solutions Manager at Eclipse. On the call with me today, as well as Adam York, our CEO. We are both really excited to talk to you today about the Eclipse features and benefits of our program. During the call, we'll have a demo of our web app, and it will show you how we can help your staff by having one place and one process for all of your equipment management needs. One thing that we've heard a lot this year is that COVID has had a huge impact on branches and staffing, and that this can be a real challenge for you. I know that we've had to see some branches close and maybe implement some alternating work schedules. And rather than have your staff spend time on broken equipment or vendor issues, you can utilize our web app so they can focus on what is most important, which is serving your members' needs. And this is meant to be interactive, so ask questions along the way in the chat. We also will leave some time at the end for a Q&A as well. 81% of C-level leadership is unaware of how much time is spent on managing equipment. So we're going to do some quick and easy math. We'll give you an example of a branch. So let's say you have 5 locations, possibly maybe 10 vendors that you work with per location. And how often does something break down each month? Maybe 2 might be a safe estimate. And how long does it take for you and your team to resolve the issue? If you have ATMs, you might do your own first line maintenance, which would require you to troubleshoot on your own, maybe taking the branch manager and other staff away from their priorities. And then if it doesn't get fixed, you need to call your service provider. And do you know who to call? How do you do that for all of the different equipment items that are at your location? And I'm sure this is a challenge just in general with any turnover that you've had at the branches with COVID. Managing banking equipment is a lot of work. It's something that we do, and so we know how much work it takes. But this is just a small representation of what it takes for your staff to manage your banking equipment. These tasks can all take time away from what they should be focused on, and this is where we can help. We can take all of these issues off your plate so that you can focus on other areas. We make maintenance simple. Let us do the work for you. Eclipse is revolutionizing how people manage, maintain, and protect critical equipment that needs to be functional for your members. So anything that needs to be up and running for you to be able to serve them, whether it's your drive-up equipment, ATMs, vault security, we can help with all of that. Our all-in-one equipment management solution helps. Instead of having to use spreadsheets or whatever other sources that you're using right now, you can manage all of them in eclipse.com. One place, one process. I think I've said that a few times already today, but I just wanted to stress what the efficiency that is gained by working with Eclipse. This is at our core what we do. We cut down time. We know that time is money, and we want to prevent costly, unplanned downtime and get your preferred providers the right information automatically. We want to be able to unify processes so you can build better workflows. Set one predictable process for both internal work orders and external service providers. And also to save on resources. So eliminate waste and digitize your equipment management. Provide a better experience for both you, your employees, and your customers. And then a quick customer testimonial that they shared with us is that their staff time on equipment service events dropped from an average of 24 hours per month to only 5.1 by working with Eclipse. We also have a lot of other great features that can help you and your team to do your best work. From consumable ordering to PM scheduling, chronic issue alerts, these are all things that take time away from you and your staff, and they can be managed through our web app. I'm going to hand it over to Adam for the demonstration today, which we will go through some of the features listed here. Again, we have the chat feature open, so ask questions throughout the way and we can help answer that you have.
All right, thank you, Janelle. I'm really excited to be able to do this and just show you how Eclipse is able to really fulfill that promise of the one place, one process. And we did that by building a piece of technology that is designed around making this process as simple as possible. So what I'm going to do is, before I get into kind of this home page, which is the first thing you'd see when you log on, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's going on in the background that really makes this powerful, and share some of the stories about clients that have helped shape this, because this product is really shaped by our clients. So really kind of at the beginning of this is this idea that a lot of the credit unions that we interact with have a lot of different kinds of locations. And what I mean by that is not every branch is the same. Not only can they be in different literal physical areas, they can have very different vendor requirements and staffing requirements, but they come in all shapes and sizes. So we have a client as an example that has a couple of really large full service branches, and then some really small ones that are inside of industrial buildings or high schools. And what's tough about that is the staffing is different in those places, the kind of equipment that they use, the kinds of issues that happen, the resources that are available are different. And so what's great about using Eclipse for this is all of those locations can be loaded in here, and you can have all sorts of locations. And we have clients that have just a couple locations and those that have, many, many locations across a large geographic footprint. And so getting all your locations in there and being able to have all the detail around those and reporting around those is where it starts. And then we get the team involved. And what we have learned by talking to our clients is that when things happen with equipment, generally they don't happen very often, which is great because equipment generally performs well, but equipment does have issues, and there are property issues. There's all sorts of things that kind of happen, and they really become sand in the gears of that location. They cause a lot more interference than you think. And so what we want to do is get the various people that are involved into Eclipse so that they have that one place, one process. So that's everything from frontline people that may be actually using some of this work equipment or impacted by property management issues, but also people that are maybe middle management, like operations managers or others that end up becoming impacted by this and want to see what's going on. So all areas of the credit union can really be impacted when there's a need to get a service provider on site or a need for repairing equipment. And so we love to get this list loaded up with users because all sorts of people would like to know what's going on and see what's going on. And we've had, as I mentioned, we've had clients speak into this, and that they can kind of tell us that, hey, we have a facilities person who's a first line of contact. They need to know what's going on. But we also have people in the IT team that need to know what's going on because they may step in and help with networking issues. So we have built kind of our idea of getting a lot of people involved and building out the user group based on real credit union examples. And then the next area is really building out that database. And so all sorts of things can appear inside of your branch. You may not have you may or may not have a uniform process of purchasing things. They come from different places. They have different warranty expirations. They have different service companies that work on them. They have different needs for ongoing maintenance. And all of those things can be listed in here, from something as complicated as an ATM that has all sorts of interesting things that can go on with it, to something a little bit more basic, like the category of property management issues, like electrical or grounds or plumbing. So we generally see a pretty broad set of things that people put in here as a way to kind of have one place, one process. And we can even give you exportable lists, because sometimes people want that to be able to see, like, what all do I have kind of included in the database. And that allows you to see the information about the things you have in here, including if you have it assigned to an outside provider. And what we generally see is a mix of things in here. We see things that are assigned to an outside provider, and then things that are assigned to your team to manage. Sometimes we see a blend of both. You might have your team be the first point of contact for something, and then you might have an outside provider that you escalate to if there's an issue. We also see some things that are under warranty or have some kind of a coverage agreement in there. That's useful to have recorded and tracked. We also see a number of things that are maybe small, low risk items that you take the risk of repair costs. Those are in here as well. So tracking all of that is really important, and building that out gives you a really good foundation. So once that's in place, you have your locations, you have your users, you have your equipment. That's really how you kind of get the account going. And then at that point, it can really become very personalized. And the personalization happens here under settings, where you begin to think about, how do I want to be involved in this? And so under settings, you do things that are personal to you. What locations are you associated with? You may have branch managers that float to a couple of locations. They want to kind of be viewable only into those locations and not all the rest. You may have people that want to be notified of various things. Maybe you're, and we've had customers that had people that were dedicated to the ATMs and needed to know all things related to ATMs. And so they wanted to see all the activity going on with those. They didn't necessarily need to be involved, but they needed to know that members were being impacted or could be impacted by something going on with an ATM. And we've even seen people take action off of that. So they'll see an ATM go down, they'll get a notification, and then they're able to get involved somehow with their team to make the situation better. So you can personalize all of that. Everybody can decide how much involvement they want. Do they want to know every single thing that goes on, or do they just want to know about the major events? So this idea of being able to personalize what you see and what you know is really, really important for getting the right people involved at the right time. You can also personalize Eclipse for your team. So you'll see that there's this customized message. You can put your own custom branding in here so that the experience of your team seems familiar. They log in and they see your credit union's message, branding, reminder, and that kind of helps create a stronger personal connection to the organization. As we think about like the most common way that this app is used, it often comes at the moment that something has failed. And so the service request feature is the thing that we're going to look at first here. And I'm zooming in a little bit just so you can see it really clearly on your screen. And this is a very simple process. So first I'm going to do at normal speed. This is kind of like the normal speed someone would go through when they're placing a service request. And then we'll go back and slow it down and just tell you what's going on a little bit. So let's say something has failed. I click on that. It knows where I'm located based on my login that I already set up. I say the thing. I click on the actual item. I say what kinds of issues are going on with it. I give a bunch of additional details. I can see the contacts that are associated or add additional ones. And then I click submit. So as you can see, that's a really fast and easy process. And the reason for that is our goal is to get your team making face-to-face contact with members. We really don't want them sitting on hold or waiting or wondering where things are at. And what this really did is it kicked off this entire process where everyone who opted into these is going to be notified of the fact that that issue occurred. And all the right people are going to know about what's going on, including your service provider. And you can see that kind of fundamental to this is this idea of you have a default location, but you can easily change that. Let's say you floated to a different location. It also has this idea of building up a pretty good database. But what if the thing that you want to request service on isn't in here? You can easily, from the dialogue, just add the equipment and tell us some information about it, and it's in there, and it just takes moments. And then the common issues and the details of the actual equipment can be here because you could have several different kinds of money equipment as an example. So you find the actual specific equipment. And then what kinds of issues happen. And these symptoms are unique to the type of equipment. And we build this out as we see these kinds of issues happen to this type of equipment. We also let you know who it's being dispatched to, who the provider is that's being called, or if it's being handled by your internal team. So I know I went through it pretty quickly, but I did want to let you know that even though it's really simple, there's a lot of great automation that's going on in the background. So from there, your system begins to build up this great history of service events. And from there, you begin to kind of build out a dialogue and a history of what's actually going on with each and every event. And so if we click into one of these, we can see that there is some notes that are developing. On some of these, you would see a lot more because there's some back and forth. Maybe the vendor has checked in, hasn't checked in. So there's activity that starts to develop as things happen. And on the provider side of this, let's say that this request was something that had to go to an outside company. Those providers are also receiving access to this app to their particular area. And what's great about that is they can do things like check in or give you arrival time estimates. They can see the service history on the piece of equipment and add service notes so that as they are completing that information, you're aware of what's happening as well. And we make the process just as simple for them. It is very, very simple, just a few clicks, so that they can give you and your team what you need to know, and they're participating in the communication. You're not having to chase people down, and you know what's going on. So the service requests build out, and then over time, hopefully things are resolved and repaired. And then of course, eventually, if the item isn't under warranty, an invoice shows up. And so we also take care of managing that part of it too. By giving one place, we have a service where the providers actually send your invoices to us. They're uploaded into the system, data is collected and provided to you for payment in a really simple, seamless process where you can get those invoices, you can see all the background on them. So instead of having to chase people down on what was this invoice for, what event happened, you're able to click into that, you're able to see what the actual events were. A lot of detail, who was involved, who was notified, what happened, and giving your entire team the visibility that they need to know about what the costs were. And we've seen clients that have saved money by doing this because they get really good information about what's actually going on. And they're also able to take advantage of preferred provider rates that Eclipse has put in place. So from the beginning to the end of service events, from the moment in which something has a need, all the way through talking to all the different people in the process to the point of paying the invoice, you have everything that you need in one place. And data is building up. You're getting more and more insights about what's going on at different locations, which locations are having a lot of events. So that you can begin to use those insights and turn them into actions. Like, you know what? This drive up has had a lot of repairs. Maybe it's time to talk to Eclipse about connecting me with somebody who can help me get new equipment. We have deeper reporting in the background that shows you chronic items and gives you some insight into what equipment might be really poor performers and giving you that access to data. So I went pretty quickly just going through that app to give you some sense of how it's one place, one process. So I'd like to just open it up now to any questions.
I was going to say, we did have a couple come in. I think that a few of them have been answered already, but what equipment can be added to Eclipse.com?
Okay, yeah, what equipment can be added? It's a great question. It's really up to you. You can put really anything and everything in here. We've had people get really creative, from property management items to a vending machine to elevator to HVAC. Really, you can think of it, you can put it in here, and you just set those settings up in a way that's customized to what your process is. And something we didn't go into in a lot of detail, but you do have the option to be able to customize where those calls go. And so you may have some calls that are managed internally and certain issues go to groups of people that are responsible for that. So you can put all sorts of equipment in here. It's really up to you. It's part of your subscription. It's unlimited users, unlimited equipment. And so the more you use it, the more value it gets.
I was going to say too, I've worked with a few customers who've been really creative and added things that we didn't even think people would want in there. So marketing screens for your lobbies. So there's a lot of, if there's things that aren't listed as an option to add, let us know. We can always expand the list for you. How do I move equipment from one branch to another?
Yeah, great question. So it's really easy to edit anything about your equipment. So right in here, you have the ability to edit what it's called, where it's located. All of that can be managed here, either from the list or in the details on the equipment. So very easy to add, update, change anything about that equipment, including the assigned provider. You can do that at any time.
And I think you went through a restriction for access and notification already.
There are different levels of access. So there's an employee access, there's a location level admin, and then there's a global admin. I'm logged in as the global admin. I can see the most things, but you may not have as much access for some of your team members. So yeah, there are different levels of access. And
then the internal dispatch, I know that we talked about that we have the option to route internally. Can you just explain that a little bit more, how that works?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a couple of places to set it. Some people will set it literally at the item level. So they'll go to that item and they can actually set that to an internal resource. You can also do it by category. And this is what we generally see most people doing. They're going to go in and they're going to say, for all printers, as an example, I'm going to have a custom route that has, and I'm going to create a custom route that says, for all printers, I want it to first go to this particular associated provider or to someone internally. So you'd put all the contact information in there. You can add additional contacts and add a route by type of equipment. But you can do that. There's various ways to create custom routes, including by location. And so through this custom route dialog box, you can create really custom ways that follow what your organization does, because you may use one company one place, one person another place. So you're able to customize that through this dialog.
And then the dispatching. So I know that we talked about how quickly it is for us to dispatch, but how quickly does it get out to the service providers?
So it is essentially instantaneous. So as soon as the it depends on your setting. So if your setting is for it to go directly to the provider, as soon as you click submit, that goes to a dispatch email for that provider, and they have the opportunity immediately to begin making updates to it. If it's handled internally, that again is immediately notifies your internal team, and then again they have opportunity to take some additional actions. So it's pretty much kind of like seamless direct communication. That doesn't mean that your providers are open 24/7. So if you submit something after hours and your provider is closed, they're not going to get it till the next morning, but they will have received it, and you're able to see that in the history of the dispatch. See if I can show that. Yeah, so this would show, well, this is a demo one, but you'd see the history developing as far as what happened to it when.
And one more just popped up about ordering consumables. Are we able to order consumables through the web app?
You're able to, we didn't talk much about this, but you're able to schedule preventive maintenance, which is usually something that's not as time sensitive. So you can actually pick a day and time, and you can also order consumables. So those are two additional functions. We've had people say, look, I love the fact that when something breaks, I can come here, but what if the printer runs out of toner? What if I need more receipt paper for the ATM? You can do that through a really easy, very similar looking dialog box, and you can add all of that right in here with just a couple of clicks, and you can get those consumables. And then they're billed to you through the invoicing part of the app as well.
Okay, there's a bunch. They're all popping in. What is the benefit of maintenance history and stats that are on the homepage?
Sure. One of the things that we've noticed and we've heard from our clients is that it's great that the process is managed, but I don't really know what's going on, and I need to be able to know like how often ATMs are breaking down, as an example. And so this allows you not only to see totals, and you can do really great filtering by location or by type, but also what kinds of things are going on. So this gives you all the history. You can add, we have additional columns that aren't displayed here that allow you to see additional things about what happened. So it gives you a starting point. The homepage really gives you a starting point to not only see a visualization of the kinds of things that are going on, but also to be able to dig deeper and find out the reasons why. And we're always updating this and adding to it. And so we continue to build out based on kind of general customer requests, different reports and widgets that allow you to see different views of the data and visualize something. And then you can use it to either report to leadership, or you can use it with your team to talk about the kinds of things that are going on. So it gives you just at a glance, really quick and easy way to get into what is really going on, what's happened recently, what recent updates have happened. Those kinds of things are really available.
And I would say, I guess I know that there's new stuff because I just noticed make yourself the best. So there's always things changing and getting updated here on our app. If a technician doesn't arrive, how do I escalate the call?
Great. First off, you can do that right through the actual email notifications. You can get into the request directly that way. You can also come into the app and directly from the detail of the request, you can escalate or cancel a request. So there's additional management actions that are right there. This is all designed to be mobile friendly too. It's developed in React, so it's really, really easy to see on the phone. But yeah, you can quickly escalate or cancel, and then that gets some additional actions that happen in the background to help make that happen. And the request is marked as escalated, and you can see that you have escalated requests. Really grateful to be here with everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to spend some time with us to look at Eclipse. Our passion is doing your best work, which is really the way that we do that is by supporting your team, helping them focus on what's important, and taking all the equipment things off of them, just automating that whole process and making sure that from beginning to end, you have the ability to focus on your members, which is really our mission.
Yes, thank you everybody for attending. We really appreciate your time this afternoon. If there's anything additional that you need help with, definitely reach out to our team and we can always, get more information to you. But otherwise, I think that's all we have today, and we hope that you all have a great afternoon.